What's going on, ladies, gents, and kids of all ages? It is Eric coming back at you once again from the Nerd Cave. Thank you guys so much for all the love on the Set Champs videos and on the Deck Tech videos in general. Just as an additional thank you, I've been getting a lot of comments requesting another budget deck list, and so I wanted to go ahead and do something under $100 that I think is pretty effective and can actually be pretty surprising against some of the big meta decks right now. It doesn't have answers to everything, but it's a lot of fun to play, and when it goes off without a hitch, it can definitely leave your opponent pretty surprised. We're going to be looking at an Emerald Amber aggro build. I call this one Golden Singers. So it is a songs deck that is not Steel Song, which I think makes it pretty fun also. As always, just want to say a thank you to the people who take the time to subscribe to the Patreon and support the videos on the channel. We have that big booster box giveaway coming when we hit 1,500 subscribers, and I think we're less than 200 subscribers away now. So we're closing in on that fast, and the channel growth has been crazy to me, but I appreciate everybody showing their love on the Lorcana content and the deck tech videos specifically. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into talking about Golden Singers. So the first card in the deck, and this is going to be a 4 of, we are playing 4 Cinderella Ballroom Sensation, 1 2 for 1, Quest for 1, and Singer 3. If you haven't guessed already, she's pretty much here to sing songs. There are 20 songs in the deck, and a lot of them are actually within her range to sing. This one's within everyone's range to sing. It's only a 2 of in the deck. It's kind of an interesting option, especially considering we're actually not playing locations, but I will find my way. Chosen character gets +2 attack, and they may go ahead and move to a location for free. If you are playing locations, obviously super good. Without locations, maybe less good. Definitely considering Pride Rock for this deck. If I was going to squeeze a location in, I think that would be really good because we do have definitely some princes in the deck. Then we do have the Golden Harp, hence the name of the deck. This is a card that really had me wanting to build something around it. It needs a lot of songs to go ahead and support it because it is a 1 cost, 1/4 quest for 2, and at the end of your turn, if you didn't play a song, you are going to have to go ahead and banish her. She's another reason we're playing the top end we're playing, and we are definitely running Perdita, so Perdita can go ahead and recur her, and then you can get songs back going again. But she's a 1/4, super hard to deal with, so if you are able to play songs and keep her out, Steel is going to have a hard time dealing with her. Ruby's definitely going to have an easier time handling her, but when you're flooding the board, they don't always have answers for that unless they're just hitting Be Prepared over and over. Then the last 1 drop in the deck, we are running 4 Cursed Merfolk, 1 cost 0/1, quest for 2 whenever this character is challenged. Each opponent chooses and discards a card. Pretty much only ever going to get challenged once in this specific instance because it does only have the 1 willpower. It doesn't deal any damage, but it's mainly about making your opponent discard and just generally putting that lore pressure on, or making them go ahead and use their removal. Then jumping over to the 2-drop slot, a card that I think is kind of interesting. If you need the songs to keep the Golden Harp on deck, has Set My Heart. Pretty great. There's a lot of Sapphire running around in the meta. Even the decks that aren't Sapphire are playing some items in some instances, but it's just banish chosen item. But the thing that's cool about this is it is a 2-cost song, so you can sing it and save yourself the ink getting something banished. It doesn't have a body like something like Benja, so that is kind of a bummer, but it's mainly about keeping your golden harps out and getting an item out of your way when you need to. Then the next card is a 4 of in this deck, in my opinion, because you just don't have a lot of removal once stuff gets on the board, so having the hand disruption I think is kind of important. But we are running 4 Bare Necessities. You get to look at your opponent's hand and choose a non-character card from it, and it's important to note that it's a non-character card and not a song like Ursula, because you can go ahead and get rid of locations, Fishbone Quills, Lucky Dimes, definitely any of that type of stuff. You can go ahead and pull songs if it is the more relevant choice, but being able to get rid of a more wide variety of options makes this card really, really good, and being able to sing it for 2 just makes it even better. Obviously Cinderella can come down turn 1, sing it turn 2, because she does have Singer 3. And then next up in the 2-drop slot, another song that is a target for Cinderella, we have 2 Be Our Guest. This is a card that's definitely fallen out of favor in the current meta, but can be good if you have a fairly character heavy deck. I think it worked well in Steel Song when it was still a more relevant option than just playing a lot of damage cards. But look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal a character card from among them and go ahead and put it into your hand. It is a 2-cost song, so again, it's going to be able to keep your golden harps alive. Keep in mind the way that this works. Even if you sing Be Our Guest, hit a golden harp with it, and then play that golden harp, you've still sung a song during that turn, so it doesn't have to be after the golden harp's on the board. So you could potentially fish for one with this and then go ahead and put it right onto deck and keep it alive until your following turn. At least get that one quest out of it if you don't have another song. Then another card that has been popular in the past but fallen out of favor in the current meta, we are playing 4 Simba Protective Cub, 2/3 for 2 Bodyguard. So what Bodyguard does is when it comes into play, you can put it into play exerted, or whenever it is exerted, it's going to be the only character that your opponent can challenge into until they get it out of their way, and then they can go ahead and challenge into your other characters. This card is particularly funny with Perdita when you start recurring it and just kind of clogging up what they're trying to do to your board. Then a 3-up and a 2-drop slot, a card that's never been particularly in favor in my opinion. I think it's largely because it is a kind of off-kilter trade, and I say that because 0 to hero, it's a 2-cost. Count the number of characters you have in play. You may pay that amount less for the next character that you put into play, which is awesome, and it is a song, so you can sing it for 2, but in the best case scenario, you're going to be able to sing this and use it to fuel a character out. So it's kind of a 2-for-1. So you're like 2-for-1ing yourself and losing resources essentially, which is not always the greatest. But if you're getting a big character out early, that's really going to give your opponent a hard time. I think it's worth it. So we are playing 3-0 to hero. Like I mentioned, my uninkable count is fairly low, so I don't expect these being uninkable to clog me up. Then next up, this one is another, fortunately, inkable card. We do have 3 Sudden Chills. This is another 2-cost song, so still within the range of Cinderella and any of our 2-drop characters. Each opponent chooses and discards a card. Simple as that. It is inkable, so if you don't need them to discard something, this is a great option for ink also. But if you are putting that pressure on with discard, you're getting your Cursed Merfolks, you're getting your Flynn Riders, getting your Ursulas. Sometimes Sudden Chill can definitely be great. But Flynn, 2-cost, 1/2, quest for 2. Whenever this character is challenged, the challenging player chooses and discards a card. So this character could be challenged more than once. Probably never going to happen that way. They're really only ever going to challenge into this after they're going to be able to take it out in one shot. But he does at least have the 2 willpower, so you never know. Quest for 2, and then it is something that makes them discard. Another option to make them discard, we do have 3 Ursula Deceivers, 1/3 for 2, quest for 1. You get to look at your opponent's hand when she comes into play, choose a song, and make them discard it. Fantastic way to go ahead and disrupt those things like Whole New World, Grab Your Swords. Keep in mind, if they're not anywhere near the ink to play cards like that, or you're playing in Sapphire or something like that, it is definitely a relevant option to take their 1 jump ahead before they can play it and just slow them down that much further, especially if you see that they don't have Fishbone Quill in their hand. So don't always immediately go, oh no, a damage card, I need to get that first. You may get another Ursula, you may have other ways to make them discard. But disrupting that 1 jump ahead can be pretty huge at the beginning. Then we do have 3 Ariel Spectacular Singer, 2/3 for 1, quest for 1. Obviously dies to Brawl, which I think has put her out of favor. It's put Steel Song in a little bit of a worse position in the current meta, but she is a Singer 5, which isn't as relevant to this deck. But when you play her, you get to fish for her song, so you're going to look at your top 4 cards, pick a song from among them, and go ahead and put it in your hand. That is what she is here for, and again, it's another card that's inkable, so if she's not going to be useful to you in that current situation, throw her in your inkwell. And one of the options for Ariel or Cinderella to sing, we do have 2 World's Greatest Criminal Minds. Banish chosen character with 5 attack or more. This is here to deal with your Mauis, your Tamatoas, your Maleficent Dragons. Oh, the new Sisu Dragon has 5 attack, 5/4. So those are the main ones that are getting played in the current meta. But World's Greatest Criminal Mind, again, this is another card that if it isn't going to be favorable to you in the matchup, obviously it's useless in like the Bucky matchup. It is inkable, so you go ahead and toss it in the inkwell and use it to fuel your other resources like Jacques. Fantastic card to follow up a Cursed Merfolk or a Flynn Rider, or even better, both. When you play this character, chosen opposing character gets reckless, so you can force your opponent to attack into one of those characters, making them discard a card. It is a 1/4 for 3 that quests for 2, so a solid stat line all around. And obviously we have a lot of low attack characters, so just to kind of help that out when we're going for a little attack damage, we do have 2 Crickies, 5 cost, 3/4 quest for 3. Also a great way to keep the questing pressure on. And when you play this character, your other characters get +3 attack this turn. So great way to make some of your characters who have 0 or 1 attack relevant attackers to be able to deal with something that may be threatening you, kind of unexpected to your opponent. So Cricky's a pretty fun kind of toolbox option. Obviously I've got a lot of 2 of, so we're doing more of a kind of like toolbox variant with this deck, trying some things out. We do have 2 We Don't Talk About Brunos. This is a song, 5 cost. This is one of the songs where your aerial spectacular singer is going to be relevant, but return chosen character to the player's hand, then they're going to discard a card at random. This can be funny to make them discard a card at random because sometimes it's just unfavorable for them, and in other situations, if you've already discarded the rest of their hand, you're really just banishing a character. You're bouncing it to their hand, and then they're discarding that character immediately. So We Don't Talk About Bruno, I think it is pretty good, especially if you're able to sing it. Another card that used to see a ton of play, and I think has also kind of fallen out of the favor in the current meta, is going to be Stitch Rockstar. Does that in Madame Medusa, which is a bummer, especially since they have the same ink cost, but 3/5, 4/6, quest for 3. This is obviously, this and Cricky and stuff are going to be some of your big targets for 0 to hero to try to get them out a little bit sooner. But whenever you play a character with cost 2 or less, you may exert them to draw a card. So this is fantastic because we're playing Chris Merfolk, we're playing Flynn Rider, we're playing Simba Protective Cub, all things that benefit from being exerted anyway, and he's going to go ahead and get you some card draw. I think something that's really funny with Stitch Rockstar, and this is something I was doing with my Mufasa Kicker deck last set. If you haven't seen that deck, definitely recommend checking out that video. But is playing Perdita with Stitch Rockstar. So she has a 1/6 for 6, quest for 2. When she comes into play, and whenever she quests, she is going to go ahead and return one of your characters with cost 2 or less from your discard directly into play. So the thing that's really funny about this is that you can do it with Stitch Rockstar's ability. So you can recur something with Perdita. When it comes into play, you can exert it to Stitch Rockstar and draw off of it, which just makes her extra saucy. And then the last card, the top end I was talking about, that takes advantage of maybe your golden harps dying, things getting attacked into, some of your weaker characters in the early game. We do have 2 Chernobyls. Can also definitely take advantage of 0 to hero to reduce that cost even further and get it out super unexpectedly on an early turn. But for each character in your discard pile, you're going to pay 1 less to play this guy. He would normally cost 10 otherwise. He has a 9/9 that quests for 3, and when you play this character, shuffle all character cards from your discard into your deck. So he's going to be able to go ahead and recur all those little guys that are in your discard pile. Obviously that isn't always great with Perdita, so if you are on a Perdita path, you're not going to necessarily want to play Chernobog and shuffle those guys in. But if you have lost everything and you need something to just come out and be a bomb, or you don't currently have a Perdita in your hand, definitely go ahead and bringing that Chernobog bomb down is going to throw your opponent off. The only things that really deal with it super effectively are like Let It Go and Hades. Hades really isn't getting played right now, and the decks that are running Let It Go are generally on maybe 2 of them. So I think this deck can kind of mess with those decks. It also is running the Ursula and the Bare Necessities, which can just further mess up your opponent when it comes to going ahead and dealing with that Chernobog, because you can rip their Let It Goes and things like that out of their hand before they're able to use them on your Chernobog, and then Chernobog just comes down kind of scot-free and just messes things up. Same thing with Be Prepared. You could rip it with Ursula, you can rip it with Bare Necessities. That's a big reason those cards are here. So it is kind of an anti-meta deck. It's not playing cards that are what you would necessarily expect, but the deck is a blast. I highly recommend checking it out, even against some of the big meta decks. It is going to generally struggle against steel a little bit more, which is true for really all aggro decks. So there's only so much you can do about that. Some of the things that do balance that out, though, are playing things like Golden Harp, that is a 1/4, so it is going to take a little bit more damage to get rid of it. Generally, they're not going to be able to do it with 1 damage spell, especially in the early game. So she can be pretty funny to get you some cheeky quests right at the beginning. Again, thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And when you see those toys, video games, and decks that are featuring Golden Harp off in the distance, it is not a mirage. You guys have a great day.